And we are live. Welcome, everyone, to the live Q&A. Today, we have a lot of awesome guests that are going to do a really cool deal breakdown. And we're also going to talk about what it's like to be in the Subto community, in the top tier TC community, just kind of being in that PACE universe, what the kind of opportunities that you can attract by being around the right people. I'm Alex Keene. I am a part of the Pace Morby team, and I'll be hanging out here learning about these stories with you today. But if you have any questions at all about any of the deals that are being broken down, or maybe you just have a general real estate question, feel free to drop that in the comments section, and I will pull your question up to the stage. Without any further ado, Mandy is going to be our wonderful host for today, and she's going to be asking Chris, John, and Jordan some awesome questions about these deals. So go ahead and take it away, Mandy.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. I love your energy. Good to see you guys. I'm excited to see what we have going on. I did not take a sneak peek at the notes for any of these, so I want to be just as surprised as the rest of the audience when we go through these.
Awesome.
But let's start with introducing our names, what state we're from, and then what communities we're in. Chris, I'm going to go to you because you're on my top left.
Perfect. Love it. I'm up in North Dakota. So we're focused in North Dakota, South Dakota, but we've done a lot of deals down in Georgia, Florida, New Mexico, North Carolina, kind of all over the place as well. So I'm in Owners Club, Subto, and Gator. That's where most of my focus is.
That's a big focus. The whole country and all the clubs.
For sure.
And John?
Well, I'm John Riordan. I'm out of Colorado Springs. My main market is Colorado Springs and the Front Range area, kind of sticking south of Denver and then all the way down to the border. And right now I'm focusing on affordable living, and that's manifesting as co-living.
Oh, I love that. Very big demand for it. And Jordan, where are you at?
Yeah, my name is Jordan Hirschfeld. I am in Bailey, Colorado. So it's about an hour and a half from Denver, tucked up into the mountains. I'm in top tier TC and Subto, and I focus nationwide, really.
Oh, I love that's a big footprint too. My husband's best friend's in Bailey. Beautiful spot.
Oh, such a small world. No one usually knows where that's at. So
I wouldn't have if I hadn't been there.
nice.
Yeah. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm Mandy Konecki. I am also following Chris's footprint in Owners Club, Subto, Gator, and Top Tier. So I apparently can't get enough of it either. Joined all the clubs. So we're kind
There's so much good across all the communities. It's hard not to want to be part of them all.
I know. And you really can get things from every single one. That shiny object syndrome is so real, but you still, no matter what you're focusing on, you can find value in the friendships too.
Yeah.
Gotta fight it though.
To me, like that really is the power of the communities, is that, you literally could find anything you need, like anything, right? Real estate, businesses, all different types, people in all different types of seats. Like, you don't have to go outside of it to find all the pieces that you need to put things together. And then you can focus on what you're good at.
Exactly. When you get around people, it's energizing and it's like a rocket.
Yeah.
Yeah. The top 5. So let's hear about some of these deals we have going on. Does anybody want to go first and give us some details?
I'd love to jump in.
Okay.
Awesome. So the deal that we wanted to share was something we called or named afterward the creative double play. This was actually the first creative deal that we did inside of the community several years ago. I've been in Subto for a little over 3 years, and we had met the owner it was an expired listing, vacant house, older gentleman. He had a lot of health problems, and he hadn't been able to sell this house. We came in with some outside the box options. We talked about cash, even creative, and it just wasn't fitting what he needed. he had lived in this house for 30 years. He had raised his house, and he had a very strong emotional connection to the house. And so something that we've learned over the years is not always necessarily to focus on like, what do I as the investor need the deal to look like, but what's really important to the seller, right? The person in the pain, in the situation, right? What's his problem that we're trying to solve? And he obviously needed to sell this house, but he had such an emotional connection to the house that he, in his mind, just had to have this dollar amount, right? This dollar amount, 330,000. It was like stuck in his head, and when we looked at like, he'd lived there for a long time and needed a lot of work, a lot of renovations. So when we looked at a cash situation, we knew with the cost of our own cash that we weren't going to be able to get there. And even with some typical creative strategies. So what we landed on actually was a novation agreement, right? And the novation agreement really allowed us to keep our holding costs as small as physically possible while we brought funds into the project, fixed up the house, and then sold the house. Okay. Went really well. Always things that come up on a renovation, of the like 20 plus flips that we've done, we're always planning for some kind of buffer, and that got eaten up, of course, but we came out really well. Now, the fun part about this deal was that it was in a high demand area. We had started just kind of some local advertising, signs out in the yard, and had a neighbor family from, a few blocks away come by, and they had been trying to find a nicer, bigger house, but they had 3 teenage kids. The house had been very lived in. They had pets, and they're like, they couldn't even fathom how to sell their own house, right? Let alone get into a new one. And I said, well, what if I sell you this house and buy your house at the same time, right? Wow. So we got to talking and talking about, again, what their problem was. Their problem was they couldn't get over having to do these 2 things at the same time. They had a house that they needed to fix up. They were self-conscious about putting it out on the market. And I said, we can buy it as is. And same kind of conversation where, cash was challenging, but they had this great loan on the house, right, at 3% interest. And we ended up taking over payments on the house. We bought that one sub 2 and have kept that one. We renovated that house. It's been an amazing rental for us. So our goal over time has been to acquire properties, and the first one didn't fit that mold, but we found the right kind of solution for it. And in the whole process, we got the house that we were able to keep and help both families at the same time. So we had the double play, creative double play, if you will.
I was just going to ask what that was called. It was like a power play, a double play. That is amazing.
Yeah.
So a couple questions. I just want to make sure everybody listening knows what a novation is.
Yes.
So you can explain how the partnership works on that. And then my follow-up to that was how you protected your investment when you put money into that property that you didn't technically have the deed to yet.
Yeah. So there's actually several different ways to do a novation technically. But on a basis of the situation is that, you are in a sense partnering with the seller, right? Instead of you going through a full purchase and a full closing, all of those costs, you having to bring all the funds for the purchase, the owner either maintains ownership or there's a delay for them to get paid, right? So in this case, we had $330,000 that we didn't have to come up with. We didn't have to pay interest on that. He was he wanted this price so firmly that he even carried some of the utility costs, and he kept paying his own loan, which is less typical in these. So we had an agreement, a novation agreement, basically saying, I'm going to guarantee you this amount, and you're going to get it after I resell the property. I'm going to bring the funds in to renovate, and then we're going to sell it at the end. And that's what happened, right? We sold it at the end for a higher price. We got our portion, if you will, for the work and value we brought in. He got paid what he was looking for, and it was just a great situation for everyone.
Absolutely love that. So Novation is a tool that most people don't use. I'm actually going through something almost exactly similar to what you're doing, because we got it under a wholesale, couldn't sell it to the first 3 people. She was going through foreclosure, so we did a Novation and sent our contractors in the very next day. She got the numbers she wanted. Everybody wins on that, but it's something that people don't seem to do a lot of, and it's really beneficial for everybody. And it saves a lot of time, not to mention that part, but also being able to increase the value and get everybody the number they want.
Yeah. And that, again, that's where it comes down to with any creative strategies. And that's why like being part of the Subto community has been so powerful in that, like, I didn't come up with this, right? But I learned about it. And then I talked to other people that had done it and had fine-tuned it to figure it out. Because at that time too, you know, there was less support, less resources, you know, top tiers TC wasn't a thing yet. And so it was a little more wild west, if you will. But we actually we were actually able to put a lien against the property to protect basically our the funds that we had brought in from a private money lender that we'd actually cross collateralized against a different property, and then our own profit, right? Enough that we could protect those things. Because the way that we did that novation, the seller was still very much involved. Now there's other ways to do it where you kind of get more control, if you will. But that's maybe a topic for another day. The transactions, just more moving parts, a little more complexity, but like you said, a really powerful tool.
That is. So if Top Tier wasn't around when you did this deal, then Creative Title probably wasn't yet either.
No.
Okay,
no.
so you must have had a really good title company that you worked with to understand these processes.
Yeah, I had to teach them how to do many of these. They hadn't done any Subto transactions. You know, now they've done tons of them with us because they know the process, they understood it. But I had a title company that was open-minded, right? They were creative in nature, and that made the conversation so much easier. I'm grateful now, though, that, you know, we've got a company like Creative Title where, you know, we can go anywhere nationwide, even places that don't have that established, and there's already a great resource and a reliable one for us.
Yeah, super savvy. I love that. Well, Chris, was there anybody else involved from the community? Did you partner with anybody else board to tackle this? I want to call it power play, but the double speed winner. Yeah.
So like I said, this deal was actually a couple of years ago. We've done a lot of crazy creative ones since, but this has probably been my favorite. Again, at that time, there were really no TCs. I didn't have anyone else directly involved in the deal, but I absolutely would not been able to have accomplished this without, help from numerous other people in Subto that were so generous to give their time and attention to walking me through that, you know, bouncing questions, ideas off to make sure that we got things done right. You know, if I were to do it again today, I'd have a host of other people in that process, a TC for sure. And we did have a lender on the property, right? It wasn't again, Gator wasn't around then either, but we had found a local private money lender that we had gotten involved.
So cool. And everybody gets a little piece of the pie and the action and learning. Steve is wanting to learn more about novations at their next regional meetup. Steve, where is your meetup at?
So Steve's in our Dakota, he's in Subto and in our Dakotas region, North Dakota, South Dakota. So for sure, Steve, we'll make sure we'll talk more about that then.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. That's a super cool story. I'm glad I got to be part of that one.
Thanks, Mandy.
Yeah. So Jordan's a TTTC. Can we keep dropping those TCs? I'm guessing that Jordan and John had a deal together. Is that right?
Yes, we did.
Awesome. Well, who's going to spill the beans on this one?
I'll start out, and then things get kind of funky, and I'll give it over to Jordan.
Clean it up.
So Yeah. So I've been in Subto since November of 22, and I started trying to wholesale and do all that. And I get deployed all the time being in the military. So I found out real quick, I don't have a whole lot of time to do that stuff. And when I get off of work, I really don't want to deal with some of the issues as a wholesaler. Let's say that, if you're just starting out, I don't want to, poison the well with that. But I found out that I didn't want to spend my time doing that. So I was kind of helping people. I found out I had a whole Rolodex of people inside of the community and outside of the community that I could start connecting, and went through there. And then eventually it was like, I'm working on everybody else's deals all the time. I need to actually start going. And it was actually Squat Up Summit last year that Molly Tennant, Rex Shippey, and Michelle Bisson kind of slapped me upside the head and set me straight, because I got that shiny object syndrome going back and forth on a lot of things. And so my why is affordable housing right now in Colorado Springs for single mothers, domestic violence survivors, and struggling families. And so that's what I was looking for. And not a whole lot of things were penciling in the affordable realm. So I started to get introduced to co-living, and wholesaler inside of the community shot me the property, and it was June. And I looked at the numbers and I'm like, no, I can't make this, work. It's way too expensive. Sorry, but I also have to bring on private money lenders in order to get into these deals. And then fast forward 2 months, the wholesaler came back and said, hey, they're about to go into foreclosure within the next 30 days or 45 days. We just want you to try and like help this guy. I know that you're looking for buying, so we're out. And my hat tip to the wholesalers for just bowing out at the end of the day, knowing that they weren't going to make any money at all on the deal, and it lowered it by a significant amount. So I looked at it again. I started to talk inside of the community. And by the way, I only work inside of the community, very rarely even in the open community, just because of how strong the connections over the past several years that I have made, that I just want to bring as much value as I can along with me. And so I started to look around, and I'm like, hey, this isn't really going to work for a buy and hold. Maybe I'll wholesale it myself. And I found a lady, Houston buyer. She was going to sell her property, come up to Colorado Springs and buy this one on a wrap. And it was going great. I got the paperwork done to buy the property, put down EMD from myself. And then I also found Jordan. She looked over all the paperwork, and we got under contract with our first title company. And Jordan, do you want to talk about kind of that whole fiasco with the title companies and everything, and lawyers and everything?
Yeah, so as a TC, I would say an important part of our process is vetting title companies and ensuring that they understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And they did seem to have a really good understanding. They're creative friendly, all of that. Now, Colorado has very specific laws when it comes to foreclosure. And it was really like, as soon as we mentioned that we had an attorney drafting documents and that it was a VA loan in Colorado, that they were like, can't do it anymore. And it was really just like the laws that they had to follow, their policies, right? So it wasn't their fault. But yeah, we ended up having to do a quick pivot and get EMD transferred to the new quote unquote title company, who is also an attorney. And yeah, we just kind of had a quick pivot, transferred everything there, and kind of got rolling on that side.
Yep. And so we started to get everything going inside of escrow, and then it was a couple of days before closing that the Houston buyer got a hold of me and was like, hey, we're going to have to back out. And I'm like, okay, well, that's excellent. Now I can't afford anything. And so I immediately got back into the community. I connected with my Gator contacts, and we had tried to purchase a house earlier in the year, actually a 5-plex that didn't pan out. But just through the connections that we formed, all of the paperwork that I showed them, my performance as a property manager, I reached back out and I said, hey, this is what's going on with it. It could be up 4 to 6 months of holding costs. And then this is what the property looks like. I got in contact with a bunch of other wholesalers inside of Colorado as verification on how long it actually takes. And I also started to reach out to more people for buyers. And that's where, once we introduced the PML, the attorneys got serious and we started to draft up all of that paperwork. Then the issues came where we couldn't transfer the money to the mortgage company in order to pay off the arrears and also pay the agent. For whatever reason, what did we try, Jordan? It was Wells Fargo. We tried just direct deposit with that. It was a small, well, it's not a really small bank. It's subserviced through Lakeview, so it's not really a small bank. And I called up the bank directly and I said, hey, this is exactly what we are trying to do. And we are trying to stop this potential foreclosure here at the end of the week. And so there was a lot of back and forth. Even the lawyer was trying to help out. And, you know, it turned out that I was on the phone with the bank and they were like, okay, if you can get us the escrow account, we'll give you the wiring instructions, get the wiring instructions for the escrow account, and we will draw directly from this lawyer's escrow account. And if you have ever called a bank, it is not timely. You are on hold forever. And the lady was like, hey, I'm about to step out in 20 minutes and the bank closes in 2 hours. So if you can get this done, the lawyers will not see the email in the morning to start the foreclosure process, which then, you know, the thousands upon thousands more dollars for a lawyer simply opening up the email, it would have just completely busted the deal. Like, we were at making $1,500 maybe after like all of this headache, switching title companies, finding people at the last second. Like, we were looking at not a whole lot of money. And it wasn't a spectacular house either. Like, it was in poor condition. It was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. And, you know, I call up Jordan, I call up the lawyer, I call up the private money lender, and it's like, hey guys, this is the reality of the situation. And everybody was like, we're going to do it. And it was like, okay, all right, let us continue. And like, the lawyer even like gave me authorization to open up his escrow account, which I thought was kind of weird. But I'm like, hey, let's actually just get on like a 3-way conference call with the bank. And he just rattled off his numbers, and, you know, I could count the seconds because they were very heavy. I didn't have one of those clocks that ticked, but, you know, you can imagine the suspense. And they're like, okay, it went through. And it was like 2 hours before this guy was going to lose his VA eligibility. He was going to go into foreclosure. And this thing had been on the market for 2/3 of a year. Like, it was just forever. Everybody had given up on this. It was the set of like 3rd or 4th wholesalers that had gone through this thing. And we closed. And then, long story short, I paid 1 month of holding costs and I didn't want to do that anymore. And so I said, okay, I wanted to actually help people with affordable housing. I wanted to get that family in there. That didn't work out. And so I pivoted to just buy and hold as co-living. And so now I got 3 professionals in there. We're actually cash flowing $200 a month. And we just formed our partnership LLC because the PML looked at the numbers, and we are going to get somebody else in there for $850. So we'll be cash flowing over $1,000 a month.
That is amazing. So some people would listen to that story. Like you said, there was no money in it, $1,500. How much time, if you calculate that, maybe you made a nickel an hour. Why would anybody do that? But there's so many takeaways. 1, the education. You learned so much, the connections that you made and the resources that you were able to reach out to. But 3, that home run, you have a house and you're cash flowing on it, which is huge. Your partners are welcome. And then just being able to help that human out of that situation when his clock was probably ticking louder than yours was.
Yeah.
Just watching the
And
days.
you know, his clock ticked out long ago, Mandy. Like, just talking with him, he was willing to do whatever it took. And, you know, it was like, hey man, this is how we're going to have to do it. Here's the thing. The paperwork was written, and Jordan can attest to this. The paperwork was written where he was going to get $2,500. And then it came back that, what was the arrears? It wasn't 6,000, it was 9,100. And I called him up and I'm like, hey, I know we said you were going to get 2,500. And he's like, hey, when I get that check, I'm going to mail it to you. And he did. He mailed it to me 2 months after we closed. Like, he kept his promise to me, and we still talk to this day. Like, he is.
Absolutely. He will never forget that.
Yeah.
It's a lifelong relationship right there. You might never talk again, but he will never forget that.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not. And then we got the 3 young gentlemen. They can't find housing that's as cheap as that I'm offering, and I even buy them toilet paper and paper towels just to keep the conflict down inside of co-living houses, you know, the disasters that you hear about. And it's just like, they're extremely grateful. Like, you know, that's kind of what I'm developing all of my properties. And I'm just a little guy. I only got 4 of them, but it's like, hey, I'm only going to use my friends to acquire these things. Jordan, PMLs, and he was a Gator, and now he's going to be my private money partner. And so he's getting 75% of all cash flow. And yes, he did say, I can say his name. Joe Loftus, he's in Gator. He's a phenomenal guy out of Kentucky. Now my private money lender. So he's getting the lion's share of the actual cash flow, and he's getting 100% depreciation. That's an extra $1,000 a month off of his taxes to offset that stuff. Oh, and he owns 50% of when in between 5 and 10 years, we're going to examine when we can actually refinance this guy out of his VA loan, you know, and he'll get half of that cash flow. So it was just a win-win across the board. Yeah.
I love hearing that.
Awesome.
Just working with people and everybody getting some piece of that success and education and partnership and part of the story. Yeah. Super awesome. Is there any questions for any of these rock stars? Kind of covered a lot of grounds here. I feel like we did cover a lot. We had novations and partnerships and subject to and title companies and TCs and foreclosures. Oh my. This one was juicy.
Pansy's here. Pansy, what do you got? I see you in the comments. I'm going to call you out.
Are all of you guys going to be a squad up in, I think, what, 2 weeks?
I wish.
Oh, we'll be there. I wouldn't miss it. It's going to be so good. It was so, John, it sounds like you experienced this last year. I did too. It was just so impactful. The connections and the communities, like I remember looking at it too before we joined, and it's like, oh, I can learn all these things, but the power is in the people, like so much, the people that you meet, the relationships, the connections. It's amazing. And then it just like, it empowers you to be able to do so much more for the people than in your own life and you interact with, just like John said. And I can attest to that, like the, all the foreclosures that we've stopped, the, like those families and the people, it's just like amazing on both sides of those transactions.
Exactly. And all of you guys have put your heart first. So none of you guys were out there for the dollar, for chasing that Benjamin. You always put somebody else in front of you, and that's how you really win. Audrey's a new Gator. She's motivated from what John had to say.
Awesome.
Love that.
No, it was great. And, going back to Squad Up, it's seriously like you have the room and it's like tons of hype, but that just gets you, I guess, just like pumped up, and then you go out and you see all of the people that are talking, and you can listen into these conversations, and it's like they just made a lot of money together.
And if they didn't, they're about to.
Yep, yes. Yep.
Yeah. Well, not to rub it in, but we're all very excited. We will miss you.
There'll be more. I'm not going anywhere. And like, you always see Pace and everybody's like flocking around Pace, and I'm like, I really don't want to like bother the guy, because everybody's like trying to get like a little bit of FaceTime and be just the gratitude that flows just from everybody for just being there. And it's like, aren't you like a millionaire several times over? And it's just like, you're a person, and you can see people and they want to talk to you. They want to find out what you are doing. And this goes for all of the meetups. I've been to Golden Ticket. I've been to, I mean, we have 2 in Colorado every single month. If not, like somebody comes through and it's like, hey, let's have an impromptu meetup, and it's awesome. It's awesome to be in the room. That is what it's about.
Yeah, the giving it becomes infectious, and now it's become part of the culture across the communities. And I mean, it obviously still important that you're going about things the right way, and you're cautious in your transactions and deals and such. But it's yeah, and the one of my favorite quotes, Zig Ziglar. I'm gonna butcher it a little bit, but if you help enough people get what they need, you'll get what you want or what you're looking for. It's so true, right? And so exactly what happened to John, right? He was just seeing these people. He knew what the right thing to do was for this family, this guy in foreclosure and the situation. And he did it, even though he knew, okay, I'm probably not going to win real big. And now like he has, it's come back to him.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed hearing everyone's story and everyone's super success, and can't wait to see where everyone goes from here.
Yeah, it was awesome to hear like all the twists and turns with these deals that you were going through. It just shows how much of a rock star each and every one of you are. So thank you so much for taking the time, first of all, because nobody's paying y'all to be here. I want everybody to know that is watching right now. These people are coming here, showing up out of the kindness of their own heart to show you that this is possible. So super inspirational. Again, appreciate it so much. And I know there's probably a lot of people that are watching right now that probably want to help you out, or maybe they have something that could help your business out. Maybe they want to bring a deal to you. Maybe they want to collaborate on a deal with you. So what are some great ways that we can get in contact with each of you?
Yeah, you can reach out to us on Instagram. Just send me a DM. Happy to connect, answer questions. We love one of my favorite things to do is to work with new investors, green investors, or people that they've got a problem they're trying to solve, and doing a deal together, right? Or finding a way to help each other benefit. So. We actually run a JV team. Some are Subto students, some are Gator students, some are other, and we host weekly Zooms, and we work deals together, and we get them lists, and we help take things to the finish line. So that's been one of my favorite things to do. And I've been blessed with amazing people around me on that team. My operator, Brittany, so good.
Well, when you have that attitude of gratitude, that just flows right back to you, Chris. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at John Riordan, REI, across all those platforms. And if you're ever in Colorado Springs, hit me up, grab a beer, coffee, or a nice hike.
Yeah, not a nice place, or not a bad place to meet up with somebody. It's beautiful out there. So thanks for that.
I'll second that for those who decide they're venturing to North Dakota.
What about you, Jordan?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook, just Jordan Hirschfeld, and Instagram as well. That's 2 underscores between my first and my last name.
Awesome. So exciting. John, I do have to say, I am so sorry, but Squat Up Summit has already sold out. So even if you had a change of heart, a little bit later on, it's already sold out. So you'll just have to
I
wait till
need to retire. I get too busy. I need to do this full time because it has just captured me and I can't let go. And you know what, Jordan, if Pace pulls people up on stage with their double underscores again, you're gonna get it. Good.
It was all that was left. So
So those of you that are viewing right now and have got your Squat Up Summit ticket, we're so excited for you. We'll see you there. Make sure that you reach out to Chris and Jordan and Mandy and, maybe send John a DM of you having a really great time at Squat Up. Just kidding.
An appreciation for you doing what you do for us.
But
So
yeah. Awesome. And then one last thing, if I know that this is kind of like a free live that we're providing for you if you're viewing today, and as well as the Facebook group, the Creative Real Estate with Pace Morby is a completely free Facebook group. So if you're wanting to take advantage of more of those freebies that we actually have a newsletter that you can sign up for that gets exclusive freebies that get sent to. There are some people that are a part of the newsletter now that actually got an opportunity to win a free hat that Pace actually wore while he was doing deals. So, some of that special sauce is in that hat right there. So we're doing all kinds of stuff like that with the newsletter, and I'll go ahead and drop the link in which you can sign up for that newsletter if you would like to. Other than that, I will leave you all with a wonderful rest of your Thursday. Again, thank you so much. Be sure to bother these people as soon as we're off this live because they want to help you out. And I'm sure you have so much value that you can provide to Chris, John, Jordan, and Mandy. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time.